I'm the Busy Bee Mom, and today we're going to be working on hemming a prom dress. And it is this kind of a slinky polyester nylon fabric that's stretchy. So it's one of the hardest fabrics to work with hemming, in my opinion. So I'm going to walk you through how I'm going to tackle this hem. Okay, I just did the fitting. I had the young lady come to my house and try on the dress with the shoes on she's going to wear. And then I pinned it so it was just skimming the floor. So now what I want to do is I want to go around and I'm going to measure how high all these pins are. Because I want to get an average measurement. It's really important to make sure that you pin it also at the side seams. That's usually your best measurement. And make sure that this lines up with the seam, which I didn't do that, I see. I'm off a little bit. Because if you get it up straight, you have a better measurement. So I'm going to go all the way around. I'm going to look for trends. I'm going to see, is it need to be up more in the back than in the front, or does it seem to be pretty much the same all the way around? So I'm just going to go around and I'm going to take a bunch of measurements and come up with an average. Because I want the left side to be trimmed exactly the same as the right side. And when I tried it on her, you know, she's standing there on carpet. It might not have exactly turned out the same, the left and right side. So I'm going to measure both and come up with an average. And that's the next thing. It has a slit actually in the front. That's why I have a right angle here. That's our front slit. Same thing. I want to make sure that the left and right sides of that slit end up exactly the same. Now, as you can see, when I pinned it, kneeling on the floor, there's a little bit of difference. So I'm going to take the average of these. I'm going to come up with my number. Okay, I went all the way around and measured all my pins where we're at. And I seem to be anywhere between 2 1/4 to 3 1/4. A lot of them are 2 1/2, 2 3/4. So I've just decided I'm going to do 2 3/4. Now, because I marked this just skimming the floor, I'm actually going to cut it there, and then when I roll it up and hem it, my double roll hem like they did, it'll be just a little bit off the floor. It'll be about 1/2 inch. So I marked it, and I'm going to cut it so it's actually just skimming the floor, and then when I actually do my roll, because you don't want it actually dragging on the floor when people walk, you want it like 1/2 inch to 1 inch above usually, so it has room to flow and move. So I'm going to go ahead and take my pins out, and then I'm going to do a line 2 3/4. Now, I do believe that this is a straight hem because it is a straight skirt. It doesn't flare out. A lot of skirts, your ball gown skirts, ones with a gathered waist, have a curved hem. So, how can I explain this? So, on a ball gown dress, your hem actually forms a big curve. This dress is a straight line, so this dress will be easy. I can just do 2 3/4 all the way. Now, a hem, it's a curved one, it's going to be a little bit harder. That'll be a separate video. But for now, I can just mark 2 3/4 and then cut it off. Okay, I've got my quilting ruler. These work great because it's see-through. You've got that. And I've got a tailor's chalk thing. It's actually got a little clicky roller thing that leaves a line. It's really cool. Somebody gave it to me. I love it. But you can you could even use a pencil. This is on the inside or the wrong side, so anything that you can use to mark it is going to show up. So I'm going to get 2 3/4 lined up. And it actually does kind of curve up a little bit, so I'm just going to mark a little bit at a time. I don't know if you can see this, but it bobbles up right there. Don't worry about that. That was when they hemmed it, they didn't get it quite flat. I'm going to get mine a little flatter than theirs. So 2 3/4, and then I'm just going to mark, and then I'm going to reposition my ruler for the next section. And mark that section. You have to be very careful not to, this fabric wants to twist and move. See, it's stretchy this way, so it's being a real stinker. So we're just going to mark as best we can all the way around, 2 3/4. Alright, it's all marked. Now we can cut it. You could use a rotary cutter, but I don't like to, because if the rotary cutter slips and you make a mistake, it's pretty hard to fix it on someone's dress. So just take your scissors and go ahead and cut it. if there's this place where your line kind of bobbles and looks funky, just smooth it out with the scissors, you know. You don't have to go exactly where the line is if the line looks a little wonky, so trim it off nice and neat. Here's a quick cutting tip. You see how this piece is over here and it's hanging off my side? Well, that is pulling. It's putting pressure on this right here. So if I was to cut that right now with this weight pulling on that, I would have a little jog. So I want to make sure that this is up here and it's relaxed and it's not pulling on my main piece at all. So I'm going to come right in here very gently and continue sewing, making sure that this is not dragging on this at all. And you're going to get a smoother line. Okay, the next step is to take the scrap that you cut off the skirt and you're going to practice hemming on this scrap. You're going to make sure you get your thread tension right, your thread color's good, it's going to feed. You probably can't see because it's black on black, but I've been playing with different thread tensions and needles and just trying to get an idea what's going to work. So I'm going to share with you what I found worked. So first thing you do with that hem, practice hem or real hem, is you want to iron it. Now the best way to iron this fabric is to use some starch. So we're going to get it nice and wet. I'm just going to do a little piece. Fold it over a little bit and iron it. Starch is your best friend for these goofy fabrics. And then you just fold it over a little bit more and iron it again. Sorry if you can't see that. I have probably the worst fabric for this demo, but it just happened to be the color dress that she had, so I've just folded it over a little bit and then a little bit again and ironed it really good. Probably won't pin it except for where my seams are because those spots seem to be a little bit trickier. They don't always want to stay. So when I iron that spot, I'll probably put a little pin there. The rest of it usually, once you have it pressed really good with some starch, it's good. Let's go to the machine now and I'll show you what I did on that. Okay, we're looking at the top of my machine and this dial here is my thread tension and I am going to adjust that. It's normally around between 3 and 5. I have a note from when I've worked with this fabric before to put it on 7. That's what seems to work best for me. I also have a note that my feed dogs, instead of being on a 3, I need to loosen that up to, the book says a 1. Now if you notice the dial doesn't even have a 1. It has a 3, a 2, and then no man's land. So I'm just going to aim for somewhere here in the, what I assume would be 1, if you're counting 1, 2, 3. So those are 2 adjustments. This is your feed dogs. You don't want those feed dogs pulling it so tight. It's going to stretch it, and then I need to adjust my thread tension, otherwise I get loopy-loos on the bottom. Okay, coming down to the pointy part of the machine, you're going to want to change your needle. You're going to want to have either a ballpoint knit needle, which is a 79 to a 90-14, or you could use a stretch, and I have written on here I had to add a slot for stretch, which is a 75-11 is your stretch. Both of those are going to be a ballpoint and good for your knit fabric. So you want to make sure you have a good needle. And then you're going to want to look at your foot too. Now I did try it with a normal foot. It's not too bad. Somebody told me that if you put Scotch tape on the foot it works better. I tried that, it didn't work. I see I didn't quite get all the tape off. I didn't have any luck with that. I've also had people recommend nylon foot. I haven't tried a nylon foot yet. That's on my to-do list. So you can just use your regular foot, or if you happen to have one of these walking feet. That's actually what I'm going to be using. I think that works the best. And this actually will lift up and go down and pull the fabric back, kind of steps. Instead of the fabric getting dragged by, it kind of goes up and down and back and up and down and back. So there's a lot of things we need to do before we throw that fabric in there. Starch it. Look at your thread tension. Look at your feed dog height. Look at your needle and look at your foot. And then play around with that scrap fabric and try it out and adjust and get it so it works before you put your dress in the machine. Alright, I have got it ironed and starched, and I did end up putting a few pins in just every couple of inches. I might want to move the tag up. I've had this happen before. When you hem things so much, the tag is almost to the bottom. So if I think of it later, I might move that tag up a little bit higher. So anyway, it's time to sew. Wish me luck. This is going to be interesting. Well, okay, I sewed it. The good news is it is flat and smooth. The problem with the stretch fabric is a lot of times when you sew it, you end up with like puckery, wrinkly looking, and you don't want that. You want it flat. So I achieved that goal. The worst parts I had were actually going over these seam areas here, because it kept getting stuck on the foot and I'd have to kind of yank at it. So as you can see, I got a little pucker there, and my stitches are, well, they're really close right there where it got stuck, and then really far where I got it loose. But it's a hem. It's black on black. The only reason why you can see it on the camera is because I got this bright light on it, so I think it's going to be okay. So not too shabby. There's a few spots where I went over a little bit, but it was only just a little bit, so I'm going to leave it. Another spot where I went down, kind of went the other way too far. I was really close to this edge, but I still have the raw edge in case, so I think I'm just going to leave it on that one too. So this edge is kind of a mess, but I'm just showing you that this is not easy, and I've been doing this a while, so don't feel bad if it's not perfect. But you know, if you want to take out a section and try it again, feel free to do that and just do the best you can. If you want to rinse the starch out, you could, but honestly, I don't think it looks like it does anything different. It looks the same, it seems to flow the same. It does help stitching though, believe me, it makes a difference. So there you have it, how to sew stretch fabrics. One thing you want to be careful when you feed it into the machine though is make sure that the rest of the skirt that's hanging down on your lap isn't pulling. You want to make sure that you don't have any tension on that, so it all can feed through nice and smooth. And then have one hand in back, making sure that it's going through, and also that hand in back, when it gets stuck on your seams, you can give it a little tug and encourage it to go through. Alright, there you have it. Seaming, stretch, and it is stretchy this way. So considering we had fabric that was stretchy this way, and we got a nice flat seam, we did good. Thanks for watching.